if you're seriously considering ways to deploy AI within your business, you got to do a couple of things. You have to think seriously about what use cases are really going to matter for you. Engage the right internal stakeholders to be a part of the process. Like, you're lying to yourself if you don't acknowledge that there's a cultural narrative
100%.
about AI is going to replace us all.
Manufacturers are taking the wrong approach too often to artificial intelligence, picking the wrong implementation partners, and in general, not preparing their data effectively. In this interview, Aaron Lober of CADDi is going to share what AI can realistically do for your manufacturing company and how to properly prepare for an AI implementation.
Yeah, starting off your time right, watching a Chicago Bears loss. That is
Absolutely.
a quintessential Chicago experience
Yeah,
here.
No, that's true. My my best friend, the best man at my wedding, is from Lincolnshire, and like his lifelong Bears fan. So I'm well acquainted with the Bears fatalism.
Okay.
You know, your expectation that
absolutely.
it'll never work out, and it extends to the Cubs too.
Yeah, 100%. It does.
This is actually one of these things that has been oddly binding between me and all my Chicago friends.
Yeah.
I, as growing up in LA as a Laker and a Dodger fan, have the exact opposite sports experience. Like, I expect to win at all times, and so it's just like
if you're not in the finals of whatever sport you're cheering for.
Yeah,
it's a bad year.
But it's like, I believe one way or another, even if they're not good, I believe it's going to work out.
Yeah.
So this energy sort of offsets the mopey, morose thing that all my friends show up with.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's become a running gag for a decade now.
I like being a St. Louis sports fan because if I look at the intervals with which my teams won championships dating back to the St. Louis Rams, so during my lifetime, 99, 2006, 2011 for the Cardinals, 2019 for the Blues. I've never had to wait too long. That's enough to keep you wanting it, but not enough where you're a Patriots fan and just spoiled for 2 whole decades.
Yeah.
So, well, hey, we got a party coming up.
We're recording?
Of course we're recording.
Okay.
I
just want to make sure.
I didn't want to. Wasn't going to make any mistakes.
No, awesome.
Let's cheers it up to start things off.
Absolutely. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, folks.
Oh man, what an absolutely beautiful day that we're sitting at here right now in Chicago.
Yeah, it took a slight break from the fall weather. You can still feel it's on its way, but it's not like the 40, 50-degree weather we were having leading up to this. Yeah, this will be a great night to have a party.
It's going to be a party
outdoors.
Yeah.
I should probably introduce where we are. We're at Kaiser Tiger. We are. It's a spot. Funny enough, I threw a meetup here 2
years ago, right?
You were here, weren't you?
I was here for that.
FABTECH? Yeah. We did a little meetup, probably 15 people here. This has been a long-time favorite spot of mine that I learned about, I don't know, maybe 8 or so years ago, but excited to do a full-blown extra innings.
Well, this is incredible.
It was great because when I was shooting through ideas, I completely forgot you hosted one here. And then I ran across this online. I'm like, I found the perfect indoor, outdoor, whatever the weather happens, we're going to have something. And it is what? Mid-70s right now, slight breeze, and it's going to be one heck of a party. And these parties happen because we have our partners. And, our MVP partner is CADDi. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. So, we're sitting here. I guess to kick things off, tell us about CADDi. We're sitting down. We're having a bar. We're having a drink right now.
Yeah.
Talk about CADDi.
Well, first of all, before I do any of that, guys, thank you for inviting me to come and do this with you at this amazing place where I wonder if you guys are on board with this. Is the cat who we ran into earlier, is that the Kaiser Tiger?
Oh,
it's got to be.
That's
gotta
a
be the
good
mascot.
pun right
that
there.
That is
right?
great.
I would. Well, if it's not,
great.
it is. So there's.
Otherwise, why have an orange tabby here?
Yeah, I think we're just going to start that rumor tonight, and that's the Kaiser Tiger.
It's a bar cat for those of you listening.
Yeah,
I was just
exactly.
chilling out here in the beer garden. So yeah, I assume that is the Kaiser Tiger.
Yeah. Well, okay. All right. Jokes aside, to talk about CADDi, it's hard for me to start any story about CADDi for those who aren't familiar without acknowledging, CADDi is a company born in Japan. We're a technology company that's committed to unleashing the potential of manufacturing as befits sort of the storied history of Japanese manufacturing. I just happened to spend last week in Tokyo for our first major owned event, CADDi Unleash, which was incredible.
Yeah.
It had over 1,000 manufacturers there and massive names: Tokyo Electron, Subaru, Suzuki, Kawasaki.
Yeah.
I mean, like the who's who of Japanese manufacturing coming to help pitch and tell their story of digital transformation with the tool. But there it was like 95 degrees and I'm dripping wet the entire time. So this, in contrast, is phenomenal.
Yeah.
But us, like, what are we beyond just the vague answer of we're a technology company? So CADDi was really born to help manufacturing companies get better utilization of some of their most important assets. So the mass accumulation of data created over decades of operation and the institutional knowledge, or, well, lack thereof, the individual knowledge held with senior members of teams who have been engineering or working on the shop floor or in the supply chain for decades on decades, who are now approaching the end of their career and may walk away with all of that knowledge if it's not transitioned into a more institutional format. So we think of ourselves that way. AI is such a buzzword for people, but we use AI among other things to help accomplish that goal. But I think that's the right frame, probably, to introduce us.
When I was interviewing Yushiro, I guess a little over a year ago, we talked about artificial intelligence, and the way I visualized your solution was when you're ordering parts, engineered parts, right, you're able to leverage artificial intelligence to essentially sort through what you have to make sure you're optimizing your ordering, right? You're not ordering from too many different spots when it's like, hey, this is really the supplier you should be ordering from. Tell me if I'm on the right track with how artificial intelligence plays into how you're helping manufacturers, and then maybe expand on it. Where have things gone in the last year?
Yeah, well, I think that's a great starting point. I mean, that use case supporting folks who are doing procurement or working in the supply chain was really the first one that we cracked through with. That in particular, I mean, this is Yashiro's story, but that use case born of the way that CADDi manufacturing, the earliest iterations of the company, were operating, and Yashiro's personal pain of sitting, receiving prints, and trying to figure out, like, all right, how do I farm this out effectively? But we have expanded quite a bit since then. So AI in general is great at pattern recognition. It far outstrips a human brain's ability to recognize patterns in vast quantities of data. So the example that you just gave there, I think, is a really key one. If you've got a supplier base of hundreds of suppliers that you've worked with over the last several decades, it's going to be much easier for an algorithm or an autonomous system that's supporting the person doing the work to say, this is the right company for us to work with now, based on their price, based on the history of quality, the lead time. But the procurement use case is just sort of, scratching the surface. That's one department within a manufacturing company, obviously. Like, to really be transformative, I think a solution like ours needs to start to support procurement, engineering, manufacturing operations, quality, maintenance, unless we're really helping people leverage historical data and tribal knowledge to optimize the entire workflow. We're never maximizing the value. So we've started to build out more solutions to support that. So today, actually, our largest user group are engineers. Some of our most popular use cases are in sort of the design engineering bucket. So companies like Subaru are using us in their design engineering teams to help them standardize design processes. Actually, recently, everyone in the automotive supply chain is really, really heavily invested in fastener consolidation, of all things. So, build platform parts, find anywhere where we can sort of design more efficiently, reduce design time if possible. Like, all of these things are possible if you're supplementing the team's work with AI. But that's one. I mean, I think about, I gotta think, can I name this partner? Well, I won't. So I won't
be on the safe side.
I won't name this customer, but So call it like a major consumer goods company
Sure.
who everyone listening to this is probably familiar with. In fact, you may have some of their tools in your tool belt. They may be located somewhere in the Midwest. It may be part of the name. Who knows?
Yeah.
They're using us to help identify which of their products has exposure to aluminum from Southeast Asia across their supply chain, right? And so that's a really difficult thing for them to see at the surface level, but it's a necessity that they can report accurately to people at the border when they're looking to import any of their materials. Otherwise, they can't get product across the border. So huge use case for
that
them.
Visibility right there is massive.
So a deeper level of pattern recognition
Yes.
to an extent, and not just like when I think of pattern recognition in manufacturing, I think of quality essentially, right? Is this a bad part, for example, or your example of leveraging it for procurement? So I love to hear the way that things have expanded.
So we're in Chicago right now. You guys have an awesome booth that's happening right there. I loved it. I brought my father and their company by today. We just checked it out. You got some T-shirts. We got some Japanese Kit Kats as well that I brought a couple home for my daughter to have. When people are coming to your booth and they're being introduced to CADDi, what would you say is the most common problem that companies are coming to you guys to solve? Like, where's that ground floor start? I know there's a lot of pattern recognition through AI and technology, but if we were to start at that foundation where manufacturers who really don't have any baseline for software, for visibility, for procurement, for engineering, where are they saying this is where we should start?
Yeah. I love that question, honestly. It's a little dependent on who's walking up to the booth.
Yeah.
Is it a member of the supply chain team? Is it corporate leadership? Is it an engineer? But truly, more often than anything else, when people are walking up and looking at us for the first time and saying, like, okay, how can you help me? The pain point is sort of related to drawing management. Makes sense. The thing that made us most popular in the earliest iterations of the tool was our ability to do an AI-based shape similarity search. So,
that was a couple years ago when I first met you guys. 2 or 3 years ago, was there?
Pretty groundbreaking for people because when you have a catalog of 100,000 drawings, how are you supposed to find all the similar shapes? But if you're really talking about a team who isn't even really thinking about AI yet, they're just trying to solve a foundational problem, it means they're probably in a place where they've been operating for a long time. Mm-hmm. They have information and data laying all over the place. 2D drawings are still the bedrock of communication across manufacturing, right? As popular as 3D CAD has become, it's very rare that you find manufacturers or OEMs who are passing 3D CAD files to their supply chain. So it's the I have hundreds of thousands of 2D drawings laying around, produced over the last 50, 60 years. Actually, maybe going a step further, I've got drawings that aren't 2D at all. They're analog.
Yeah.
They got sketched out by Jeff 30 years ago. Actually, 2 weeks ago, I was talking to a company, 100 years operating in manufacturing here in the U.S., and some of their oldest drawings are on microfiche. So,
wow.
Do you know what that is? I don't know what microfiche is. That shows how old it is.
Yeah, it's the little what do you call this? It's what old newspaper clippings are often stored on. You got to look at it through a microscope.
Holy smokes! Okay, that's what those things are called.
Yeah.
All right, I knew what I knew what they were without knowing what it was called. I take that back.
You're really dating those manufacturers.
Also, us not knowing microfiche is kind of like or knowing a little bit is dating ourselves here.
Yes.
We grew up with 1 foot in the pre-internet era.
That's what those millennials are. We were such at a unique phase of transition of industry.
Yeah,
seeing that.
I got to give millennials and Gen X credit for kind of doing it before and after technology was ubiquitous. Mm-hmm. We just caught different phases of all of it.
Yeah.
I do have a question. With the manufacturing leaders listening to this episode, you see a number of AI implementations take place at manufacturers. What should more manufacturers be considering when they go through in AI implementation, right? You can obviously talk about this in the context of CADDi, but I'm sure this applies to a lot of different solutions manufacturers are adopting right now.
Yeah. Outside of the CADDi context, right?
Okay.
Because I think the more honest way to answer this is not making it referential to us. If you're seriously considering ways to deploy AI within your business, you got to do a couple of things. You have to think seriously about what use cases are really going to matter for you. You'd be surprised. That sounds fairly fundamental, but I think there are a lot of folks who are hearing the cultural narrative about AI pick up steam, get louder, and are thinking like, all right, this is a train I got to get on board. So there's not necessarily as much thoughtfulness around like, what am I going to use AI for as there should be all the time. So figure out what you're going to use it for. Really, that also means inherently like engage the right internal stakeholders to be a part of the process. Again, that one feels kind of fundamental, and they're definitely related. But if you're a CEO and you're thinking we're going to do an AI deployment across my manufacturing org, and you're not talking to the actual executors who are managing people or who are responsible for functions, you're at the very least missing out on the fact that probably that's going to create a lot of trepidation for folks. Right, because even if you're very thoughtful about how AI is a better tool for supplementation than it is replacing folks, you're lying to yourself if you don't acknowledge that there's a cultural narrative 100%. About AI is going to replace us all.
So when we look at AI, in order for AI to really be beneficial, I feel like there has to be data that's available for AI to do that. Where on the scale do you think manufacturers need to be on that data readiness and availability to begin to push forward?
That's a great question. This is an area where it's hard for me to answer that without talking about CADDi, genuinely, CADDi drawer specifically. So I think that it's funny to call anything related to AI an old adage, right? But the old adage, if you will, is if you don't have a nice structured data set, an AI deployment is sort of a waste of time because AI needs data and information in order to give you anything meaningful. True to a degree. But the old paradigm, 5 years ago would have been going to a company like Deloitte and saying, or McKinsey, and saying, here's $3 million, I'll give you 2 years. You build an ontology for me, come in, create consistent taxonomy across my database. Oh, by the way, I need a database tool, so maybe I got to hit up Snowflake or Databricks. I think the paradigm has moved past that. So I think the thing that really made CADDi unique early is not the similarity search. Like that is a wow factor for people who interact with the user interface. But the real transformative business value of CADDi is that we have trained AI and machine learning algorithms on hundreds of millions of data points to reliably analyze and extract every piece of shape, text, and geometry from every drawing in your database, whether that's on microfiche or it's a nicely produced PDF. And then we use those same algorithms to basically interlink or interconnect drawings with every other piece of quality and supply chain data across your entire tech stack. Those two pieces, reliable extraction and interlinking, that's incredibly difficult. Well, difficult. Labor intensive, time intensive.
Investment.
Yeah, if you asked people to do this, that you would be paying millions of dollars, literally, to consultants in the old paradigm. But with CADDi, we ultimately use AI to drive most of this, and we can get it done in 2 weeks. I mean, truly, like that part of the work, that's done in less than 24 hours. The 2 weeks is working with people on, like, how are you going to use it in your workflow? But so in this new paradigm, the fear of, like, do I need to get my data in order? Are we ready? I think it's less significant today than it used to be because you can kind of invert the statement. You don't need to prep your data for AI anymore. You can use AI to prep your data.
Yeah, exactly. I think it goes back to, for so long, people were never willing to jump on these opportunities because they say we're not ready yet. Now, all of a sudden, I think with AI makes you ready.
Yeah.
AI gives you that advantage to make you ready to be able to go out and say, okay, we're going to start rolling with this opportunity.
Well, this is I'm not going to get the stat perfectly correct because I just saw this in passing, but I think it's the FRED database or the Federal Reserve of St. Louis put out some numbers around AI adoption in manufacturing, where I think last year self-report was something around 20% of manufacturers said that they were implementing AI.
Mm-hmm.
And this year, when they conducted that same survey, it's up to 75%.
Wow.
So we're seeing like majority industry adoption, and like what are folks doing? That's a wide spectrum.
Yeah.
You know, there are people who are just dipping their toe, and people who are going through like whole hog digital or AI driven transformation. So I mean, there's a lot of ground yet to cover for people, but it's here. It's a thing that's happening.
Yeah. So I'm hearing the sounds of Chicago in the background, the L's going by, the music's about to get louder as party time quickly approaches. We were just talking about data and artificial intelligence. We were talking about advice for AI implementations. Aaron, my last question, one of the things you mentioned for AI implementations was stakeholders engaging the right ones. I'd love if you could give us like a reality check. How are you seeing manufacturers do at this right now? Because it is ubiquitous on a podcast in this day and age to say, you know, the concern around artificial intelligence taking jobs. You know this, Jake. You know this. I know this. I'm curious, what is the reality check? Are people excited? Are people engaging the right folks? What are you seeing?
I mean, I think the prognosis there is much more positive than you would think if you just listen to, you know, pop culture podcast.
Yeah.
Or you spend a lot of time on Reddit.
Yeah.
Most of the folks that I speak to, senior leaders who are cutting checks, right, who are driving these types of AI implementations, they understand that this type of tool today is going to empower them to offset some of the skilled labor deficits that we have in the industry today.
Yeah.
The goal is not to replace people. The people who I speak with who are talking about AI-supported, fully lights-out manufacturing, they're years behind their compatriots or their competitors who are thinking more about how they can move fast for incremental value and empower people. Mm-hmm. So those guys over here who are trying to really do it well, they're going to the leaders within their teams, but I mean leaders of people who are still close to the work, and they're saying, help me frame the problem, right? Like, what are we doing in our workflow today that's junky, that feels like it wastes people's time, that slows us down. Mm-hmm. And then they're turning around and they're coming to technology providers who have some expertise in AI. So, I mean, it's companies like us, or, you know, if you're a real big guy and you don't mind being in bed with supporters of massive domestic surveillance, maybe you go to Palantir. But they're coming to companies like those, and they're saying, okay, how can we actually deploy in a meaningful way? Like, what types of solutions do we need today? Because AI can be a black box for people, and as I said, there's a spectrum of adoption. Like, do we need a chatbot that's put on top of our website to just help with sales, or do we need some type of much more comprehensive mashup reporting that informs the way my supply chain operates? So, you know, those are two very different needs.
Yeah.
We talk to a lot of people who are basically trying to figure out how to optimize quality, cost, and delivery speed. So we end up supporting people with solutions that are designed to help them consolidate their supplier base, negotiate with those suppliers more effectively, optimize the way that they design new parts, whether that's, you know, avoiding duplication or it's true value engineering, and then ultimately also figuring out a way to make just the supply chain ultimately far more effective. Let me get part from point A to point B faster with lower carbon footprint, or, you know, whatever you're invested in. So you got to have the people internally on board, and you got to have the right partner. I guess that's how I would put it.
Final question as we close this out and get ready to throw extra innings here at FABTECH. what is one AI myth you would like to debunk here in the finale?
Oh my God, one AI myth.
It can be a quick answer too.
Yeah. All right, the AI myth is that in the next 18 months, it's going to be a robot sitting here having this interview with you rather than me. I don't know where people start to think that we're that far along or that far down the rabbit hole, but I think chances are pretty good we're going to be the ones sharing beers here over the next several decades.
I know it's possible to create an AI podcast now, right? Where you have voices that have a conversation about a particular topic, but I know no one throws a party like we do. We're going to be cashing in these drink tickets here soon. We can't zoom in on them, but the logo's on there for
whenever
for
you
CADDi.
do the AI podcast, if you can have AI-generated John Hamm voiceover for me, that'd be great.
Yeah.
That would be cool. We'll work on that in past.
How
How about
solid
that?
for my personal
But
brand.
we're about to kick off Extra Innings FABTECH 2025. Hundreds of people are about to show up in the next 30 minutes, so we're going to have a great networking event tonight. So, gentlemen,
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Good times ahead.
We'll see you guys soon.